between the two of them.
The inside of Coates.
Martin gets too heavily involved.
And that's Whitehead and Coates.
Hello everyone and welcome to the VRRC League of Champions Round 3 here at Thruxton. Joining me in the commentary box this evening is Mr. Stephen Proudy and Dave Marshall. Gentlemen, how are we doing this evening?
Very well, thank you very much, Dan, and looking forward to some fast and frantic racing around Thruxton this evening. I think it's going to be very challenging for the drivers to keep things under control, and tyre temps are certainly going to maybe should be an issue.
Absolutely, indeed. This is the fastest circuit in the UK. Average speed higher than anything on the calendar, and obviously, as I said, anything in the UK. So we have, as you can see there, that is the track map. It's so fast around Thruxton. You've got to be so careful. Dave, I think from yourself, you've driven these cars a lot more than myself and Steve. What are the drivers going to be looking out for this evening?
Yeah, so how we're doing, Dan? Yeah, we're coming to my favourite track. I had to put it in the calendar. It's very difficult for the drivers. You know, I know a lot of them are running, you know, a lot of camber on the rear left tyre in particular, because the whole way around the track it just doesn't let off. You know, you're flat in fourth and fifth gear, or a lot of times leaning on that back left tyre. You know, and the PSI is creeping up on it, and it's really going to struggle to keep on the whole race. So tyre management might come into the race, or might see someone, you know, just try and battle through it at the start and then go super defensive towards the end of the race.
Indeed, I think one of the things we haven't really seen, as you just touched on there, Dave, we haven't seen much in terms of tyre management. I know we've got Jack McIntyre has been the dominant force, I think, from the last two rounds. Steve, do you reckon is that something that's going to continue, or are we going to find someone else now that's going to be really challenging Jack for this top step?
Well, I think just looking at the timing boards pre-race, Jack was struggling a little bit. Robbie Stapleford's found a bit of speed. Jordan Brennan, obviously, is a quick boy. We saw Rob Butler last week pushing hard. Max Edmondson had a reasonable race. Toby Trice, another name from last week as well. You know, I mean, Jack McIntyre is sitting pretty with sort of 80 points in the championship, but yeah, I think we've got every chance of somebody else taking that top spot. Definitely in pole position maybe tonight. You know, it's anybody's race, and the tyre management, like Dave was saying, it's going to be tricky, because when you're racing in a bunch, the last thing you want to be doing is having to ease off because you're over pushing the tyres. You know, it's going to be very difficult tonight.
Absolutely, it's going to be interesting to see. Well, qualifying is about to get underway, but before we get on with qualifying, just like to say that this is part of a new championship. We've got another 3 championships after this one here, as you can see on the screen. The League of Champions, 4 championships over 4 months in one league. So we're in the UK Porsche Challenge. The next round is the Fabarth Cup car, followed by the Classic DTM and the TT Cup, rounding off the entire League of Champions. Dave, what was the whole ethos behind this? What were we really trying to do here with this League of Champions?
Yeah, so the ethos behind it was to basically base it a bit around race champions, which is basically several drivers from around the world regarded as being the fastest people, you know, in the world, come together, race multiple disciplines, and at the end there's one driver who stands out and wins the league, no matter what car he's in. So it took itself from that, really. We were running championships that were sort of 12 weeks long, and you know what, we've got a busy community here that all want to drive different stuff. So it was a really nice opportunity to try and get championships of different disciplines together, as well as tying it under all one banner, you know, and having a driver at the end that is going to prove himself to be really a very good driver in everything.
Sorry to interrupt, guys. I'm just chuckling away here because not something you see every day, but we've got the safety car hustling Mick Sutton around the track at the moment. Rich Hayden just showing us what he can do in the safety car at the moment.
I'm thinking of. We're just looking through the comms chat at the moment. I believe what Rich is going to do. He's going to be parking the safety car on the exit of the last chicane. He's going to be looking at track limits, because that's one thing we haven't spoken about. As we can see there, the lovely Mercedes SLS safety car there, sitting there, just watching everyone, overviewing the situation, to making sure again that people don't get those off track. It's very, very easy to cut those chicanes, and it's very easy to cut them a little bit too much. If I'm honest. So that is going to be something that drivers are going to have to watch out for. There are going to be eagle eyes on them throughout qualifying and the race as well. Looking through qualifying at the moment, we're just getting probably the first lap times are going to be starting to come through. Jack McIntyre, as we can see on the screen now, so 0.7 down on his on the first sector, with Jordan Brenner with a 1:18.742 straight out of the bat. How are we feeling? I know we spoke about Jack is going to be potentially struggling. We see a car that's a bit of grass cutting there. I know we're saying about Jack potentially struggling. Is that something that could just be unfamiliar in terms of track, do you reckon, Steve? Or is that something that this could potentially be a track that he is generally going to struggle on?
It could be. I mean, it could be a mixture of anything. I mean, obviously, Jack may not be struggling. The other guys may have just upped the game a little bit. I mean, but as we know, these guys all put an awful lot of practice into this. It's all taken very, very seriously, and there are literally hundreds of laps done by some of the drivers. And we have got some top quality drivers on the grid tonight, and not just the top 10. Right down the field, there's some excellent drivers. So it wouldn't surprise me, if someone else isn't pushing for that win. But I don't necessarily think it's maybe Jack struggling. It might be, but I don't think so. I think it's maybe just the other guys have upped the game a little bit, and things are just getting a little bit closer, which is going to be great to see for the championship. Because as you were mentioning with Dave there, obviously we've got different types of cars coming up, different manufacturers, but not just different manufacturers, different disciplines. So it's going to be very open. And I know in the interview last week with Jack, he said, he's feeling quite confident in the Porsche Cup cars, but when it comes to some of the other classes, maybe not quite as confident. So it's important for Jack to try and stay on the podium at the very least and bag as many points as he can in these Porsche Cup cars where he's feeling happy and at home.
Exactly, very, very true. I said after this round, there was only one round left. So very much so, Jack does need to maximise what he can get for the next couple of rounds. We're just on board currently with Max Bird. He's currently sitting in P5, just about a second off Rob Butler, who's now put it on pole with a 1:10.308, just over a tenth ahead of Jordan Brenner. As I say that, Jordan Brenner goes for a slightly small little excursion, going through look to be the first sector of the track. One of the things that I'd like to touch on as well, Dave, and this would be for yourself as well, we see Max Bird getting very, very sideways there. Managed to keep it just about pointing in a straight line, so fair play to him. Hopefully that doesn't happen in the race. Dave, obviously we've got some championship prizes on offer as well for this season, so just want to talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so basically the way we're running the League of Champions was, it's no lie that the running of a stream, commentary and everything like that is a very expensive thing. So VRRC do very well to, get entries and, people pay a small fee to enter the championships, but instead of doing prizes for individual championships, the idea is we do the prizes for the overall league at the end, but then also we do trophies for individual championships. So the top three from this Porsche round, the Porsche Championship, will get trophies for the top three. And the same for the Fabath and following, and then there's prizes for the top five at the end of the league. So it's a nice balance on basically how much you pay to enter, as well as getting a little bit in return from it as well. So
good stuff. No, absolutely. One of the another thing I'd like to mention as well is to everyone that's currently watching the broadcast. Firstly, welcome again if you have just tuned in. And please do get involved on the broadcast and on the chat. It's really good for us. It gives us potentially some talking points that we haven't necessarily discussed, or we could potentially discuss. So I'm just going to read through now. So we've got Dave Jones that has said good evening, guys. So welcome to the stream, Dave. Hope you are enjoying everything so far. We have now currently on the screen, we've got Matt Richards In P17, I don't think he's quite got the lap in that he would have wanted at the moment, although he will, I'm sure, be putting some more lap times in, as we've just had Robbie Stapleford, you can see on the left-hand timing screen, with a 1:10.615, just over 3/10 off Rob Butler, who is still leading with 8.5 minutes to go, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. And Robbie Stapleford is a driver, I think, that with my time with VRRC over the last few months of commentating with them, Robbie Stapleford is a guy that's improving. And I was just talking to Dave off air before we went live, and Robbie's been having some coaching lessons, Dave, with 10/10 coaching. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about what you do there?
So through VRRC, we've got 10/10 coaching as well. That is me and Jack McIntyre, as well as Max and Alex, who tend to do more of the real side coaching. So you can book track time and coaching with Max or Alex at real tracks, if you have a track car or race car. And then me and Jack tend to do more of the sim side of stuff. And yeah, Robbie's booked in. His first lesson was the previous round, actually. And it was great to see him come away with, a race win after his first coaching session. So that was a really nice entry into 10/10s. And then he's booked in again this week before Thruxton, just to try and he was struggling with a bit of balance with the car. Thruxton is a very, very fast track, but it requires the car to be quite agile, with the corners being that quick. So yeah, he booked in, we got the car a bit more settled, and then I actually went out on track with him. It's one of the advantages of sim coaching, where I actually could go out on track with him and actually coach racecraft. So I was trying moves here and there, and he was doing the same on me, of where's possible to pass here. And it's something that's really quite unique to our coaching. So yeah, let's see if it pays off in the race. Hopefully it does.
Just regarding sort of coaching and whatnot around Thruxton, and I know you said at the beginning of the stream this is one of your favourite tracks, Dave. I mean, are there any make or break points at Thruxton? We sort of talk about other tracks where we say, it is very important to get the exit right on such and such a corner, or the braking just right into there to set you up. Is there places like that at Thruxton? I mean, it's a pretty flat out track with possibly just a couple of really hard braking zones, and the rest of it's pretty much quite intense full throttle, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very much all flat out. For me, it's a case of there's probably two main overtaking points. First one is the very first chicane, and the second one is sort of the exit of that first complex. Other than that, the key here really is if you're going to make an overtake, then you have to make sure you get past, because if you go for a move on these, long sweeping corners, if you have to back out for even a millisecond, by the time you get to the end of that straight, you've lost 1 or 2 tenths, if not more. So, it's one of them places where, yes, you want to get past, but if you're not calculated and, be committed to that move and actually get past, you're losing a heck of a lot of time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose you've got to try and, it's ever more important to stay on the right line, as well, as we're just seeing, Fairclough he took up every inch of track there, and there's an awful lot of grass at Thruxton, isn't there, which offers no adhesion whatsoever if you get onto that. So obviously, when you're sort of attacking these corners absolutely flat out, the last thing you want to be doing is just running wide, because if you do, you're running wide at a very high speed, and you will go a long way into the scenery, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, when you put a wheel on the grass, if you get pulled into the grass here, going off at 130 mile an hour, the drivers are actually shocked at how far they go until they slow down. And it's probably, regarding the tracks that we've raced at the moment, you've got the barriers and the gravel traps at other tracks, the same as here, but none really where you just have a grass run out. So the drivers, they're going off, and, you go off here, you're running wide by however much, you probably lose a good 10 places just running wide on the grass. So there's going to be a lot of strategy in this race, and it's going to be good for a driver just to actually try and keep on the black stuff, I think, rather than actually push for outright lap time.
Yeah, it's looking pretty tight at the top, isn't it, Dan, with Butler, Stapleford and Brennan at the moment.
I know, you've got 600ths of a second. I'm just looking through the timing screens now. Saying that, though, it's pretty close. I mean, we've got the top 6 currently. So you've got Rob Butler, Robbie Stapleford, Jordan Brennan, Isaac Smith, who's up in 4th position. Max Bird and Max Edmondson, all within the 110s, about 0.6 of separating one another. And then, to be fair, it's even closer between Robin Walters and Jack McIntyre in P7 and 8, respectively. So you've got Robin Walters on a 111.234 and Jack McIntyre on a 111.237. So that's 0.003 of a second between them. So it is very, very close. I think we're going to be seeing some very, very close racing, not only at the start, but this could be some very close racing, because again, you've got that where it's not as much. There's sort of heavy braking zones. A lot of it's flat out. You've got to try and make sure that obviously you're balancing the car. But I think, Jack, as you were touching on, a draft is going to be very, very beneficial here. I think you're going to probably get pulled along. Maybe not so much as you find, in some higher downforce cars, but it's still probably something that would take into account. We may see some closer racing. I may see some larger cars in battling for sort of 1 or 2 positions. So we're going to see a lot of cars going there. So we've just got currently Andy Dorman, who is in P12, 1.8 seconds off of Rob's time, doing pretty well. We can see this. So this is what they want to make sure. This is where the safety car, as you can see there. So the safety car just on the right-hand side that went out of shot, just sitting there watching everyone, making sure, again, that they're adhering to the track limits. If they don't adhere to track limits, the lap will be invalidated. Okay, so that is what they've got to make sure if they don't do that. With 2.5 minutes left, Rob Butler still leading with a 1:10.308. And I think Robbie Stapleford has, again, it's very, very difficult. It's so close to call. And to be honest, Dave, I don't think it's something that we can really realistically call at the moment.
Not at all. Them lap times for the top 3, as I just see John Wren do a 10.3. 3 drivers within a 10th. But as I say about the other 2 races, we've had drivers start and through either lack of clutch control or just not quite getting the traction, they've dropped 2 or 3 positions off the line. So, just because Rob's gone on and put a pole on in this race, which, fair play to them, a 10.3, anything under a 10.5 here is a blistering lap time. It's not job done. It is definitely not job done. But I'll just quickly touch on the track limits, because it slightly differs here compared to the other tracks we've been to. Following the Blue Boot Motorsport, the same as it would in real life. We adhere to the white lines of the track is the track limit, so 2 wheels inside that white line at all times. But because of the difficulty of the last chicane and how tight and how difficult the cars are to drive, we've opened them track limits where you're allowed 2 wheels on the black, white and red curbs, so not within the white lines, but only in the last chicane. So that's why you see Rich there in the safety car, just keeping an eye on things and making sure people aren't getting an unfair advantage for either, the lap they're on, or necessarily cutting the chicane to get a better run on the next lap.
Interesting stuff. I think, in a way, then it's quite good. You're sort of giving drivers that little bit of leniency, understanding that this car is it's a very, very difficult car to drive, as we have seen. But no, that's good. I think giving people that sort of, as we just see there, we've got Max Bird utilising all of the track available. No, it is good. I think giving that drivers that little bit of leniency, because around here these cars are so difficult. They're difficult at the best of times, let alone when they're trying to sort of balance the car and almost dance the car around these really, really high-speed corners. We've got 10 seconds left of qualifying. At the moment, Robbie Staples has actually put in a quicker lap time, 1:10.231. So he is currently leading by just under a 10th, 3/4 of a 10th of a second. So Rob Butler in P2. Actually, did I say that? Sorry, my apologies. Because, this has become almost, I think, even closer. We've now got the top 6 within 3/10 of each other. With Jack McIntyre now in P6 with a 1:10.559. Isaac Smith still in 5th position, hasn't improved on that with 1:10.497. But I'm just looking again, it's getting so close. And we've got Jack McIntyre going across the line. This will be his last, as I say that's I've never seen that before. Wow.
That was
interesting.
With the wall.
He doesn't want to do that in the race, does he, Ben James?
No, I wouldn't be getting quite that close to the wall.
No, I don't think there was any advantage gained there, was there? But yeah, I mean, the top sort of, what's the top 7 are all within 6/10 now of each other. And like you said, Jack McIntyre in 6th place there, which is not where we used to seeing Jack. But fair play to Robbie Stapleford, Jordan Brennan, Rob Butler. You know, they're all putting in really good times. And yeah, I think the driver of qualifying so far for me has got to be Robbie Stapleford. Not just because he's put it on pole position, but like I say, over the last few sort of weeks and couple of months or so, I've personally seen great improvement on his driving.
Absolutely. So we just had, Jordan Brennan just in that lap time. That was the last lap, I believe, that Jordan Brennan put that 1:10.257. So very, very impressive lap time for Jordan Brennan there. I believe, hopefully, in a couple of minutes, we're going to have the pole sitter. So Robbie Stapleford is going to be in the interview waiting room. So we're going to be able to have a chat with him very quickly before we get underway for race 1 of the VRRC League of Champions, round 3 here at Thruxton. As I said before, if you have just joined, welcome to the broadcast, and make sure you do get involved. We love being able to read the comments. We love being able to read the chat. So yes, please do get involved in the broadcast. And I've just heard a notification come off, so I believe we do have Robbie in the comms box now. Dave, would you want to go and interview?
Yeah, I'll go and have a chat with Robbie. Yeah, I'll go and have a chat with Robbie now.
Yes.
Right, Robbie, how are we doing? Is Robbie Stapleford there? I think we're having a few tech gremlins there, I think. Oh, there he is there. Just in the nick of time. Just in the nick of time. That'll do, won't it, Paul?
Yep, good.
That's job done for now, but how we're thinking for the race, for strategy?
Just got to get a good start and not defend too hard to Rob and just try and pull away.
Yeah, how are you thinking for tyres round here? Are you thinking if you push too early at the start, the back left might go off, or are we thinking that you can probably go fairly hard initially in the race and make it last?
I think the back left will start to go if you push too hard at the start, so I've just got to keep them going and then push towards the end.
Fair enough. It's looking very, very close behind you, mind. You've got probably about 4 drivers within 2/10 of your lap time. But yeah, I've got no doubt. Get a good start and we'll see how you fare.
Yeah, thank you. Yep.
There we go. That was Robbie Stapleford, the man currently on pole and the man to watch for this race 1. Bear in mind, we do have a top 12 grid reversal for race 2. And if we've learnt anything, Steve, that is going to shake up the grid. I think it's going to be even more so at Thruxton tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, technically, Thruxton is a fast circuit. The reverse grid, I would say here, I would think it'd be harder for the guys to come through as long as those front guys that get the chance at being up at the front, you know, don't make too many mistakes, because let's face it, without those big heavy braking zones, as Dave was saying earlier, literally there's probably 2 passing opportunities here without the car in front making a mistake. It's going to be probably harder than ever for the guys to make their way through, and it could really sort of shake the championship points up. The only thing to watch is obviously we've got Jack McIntyre sort of starting sort of round about 6th sort of place, and if he finishes in that sort of place, the reverse grid's not really going to affect him again, so he would probably look good for race 2 in that sort of scenario. But yeah, I think it's going to be difficult for the guys to make their way through. I'm not sure what you think about that, Dave.
Yeah, you know what, I'm actually really not sure. I think, as you said, it is going to be very, very difficult to overtake. It's going to be probably very easy for the cars to trip over themselves slightly, if I'm honest, especially going into the first complex where it's a really tight right-hander. But yeah, I think if the drivers are sensible, they'll be thinking of the championship and they just want to get through race 1. But race 2 could be very, very challenging to get through from any serious position, really, back through the grid, with only 2 major overtaking opportunities. You know, we might see slipstream in account here, unlike the other tracks we've been to, but I honestly can't call race 2 at all.
To be fair, I don't think anyone can. We're just about, you can see the cars are on the grid now. This is it. for race 1, Robbie Stapleford, he needs to get a good start. So I said that everyone needs to get a good start. You know, if you lose out on the start here, you're going to lose a lot of positions. So as we have spoken about and as we have seen in the previous rounds, if you get a poor start, that could be, you know, potentially 3, 4, 5, even 6 positions and leading on from that as well. So, you know, drivers to really have to be careful as we got the lights are just about to come on here at Thruxton for round 3 of the VRRC League of Champions here in the Porsche Challenge. Lights are on and away they go. It looks to be a pretty even start. We've got a couple of cars that seem to have got the jump. A little bit of contact there already at the rear of the field. But at the moment, all drivers are still on the track. A little bit of rubbing is ready. Well, we've got one car off there. Not entirely sure who that was. They have indeed managed to miss the wall, but they have dropped down a fair few positions. Not entirely sure who that was. We're just going to hopefully going to see a little bit more of that in a second. We've got another couple of cars spun round. A bit more contact there. It's not really gone well. In turns 3 and 4, I think Will Fairclough has really lost out there. He's dropped to the back of the field. But at the moment, side by side, though, for Max Edmonds. And I say that, there's a little bit more contact in the middle part of the lap. We've just gone now back onto the main screens. That was Max Edmondson having a bit of contact with Isaac Smith there. A little bit unfortunate for Isaac. He has lost out, dropped down to P6. As I said, he's just about to move up to P5 as we come through the latter half of the lap now. So he is back up to P5. Jack McIntyre has capitalised on it. So Max Bird has dropped down from P5 to P7 within the space of about 350 metres, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Robbie Stapleford's done what he needs to do. He's sort of got away and look at that gap. It's almost up at a second already. Jack McIntyre maybe lost out at the start, but he's certainly made up for it again, like you said there, taking the opportunity to get back past Max Bird. But relatively clean start, but we did see a couple of touches there with cars running onto the grass, and we saw how many positions they lose, even though they don't make contact with the barriers. They just have to lift off and try and keep it under control on the green stuff, as it were. But yeah, great stuff so far and all looking good. And Stapleford just like I say, he's 9/10 in the lead. It's going up at the moment. He's around about 9/10 to a second out in front.
Yeah, I think we've got a safety car at the moment, Steve, I think. But yeah, as we saw, I think, you know, surprisingly clean start for how fast you can see the track is. You know, I think Jack would be a little bit disappointed he couldn't get a bit further up the grid there. There was just, I think it was Isaac and Max Edmondson just, you know, fighting for position quite hard, and there just wasn't room for Jack to get through. I think I saw Max Edmondson have a bit of a lazy getaway off the line, so that's what sort of backed all the grid back up. But yeah, perfect start for Robbie. Jordan's there with him. That's what the top two wanted to do. They just wanted to get the heads down and get away.
I'm just looking at it though. I think unfortunately this is not what Robbie Stapleford wants. He got a really good run. As we said, he pulled, you know, almost 9/10 of a second. Well, it's probably actually a second at one point. And then that safety car was deployed. So that really has hurt Robbie a little bit. Although, as I say that, I believe we're just about to go for the restart, and it was only one lap on the safety car, and we are back underway. Robbie's got a very good start. He's already pulled at least a second off of these guys. We've got 2 wide for Jordan Brennan and Rob Butler, and there's a little bit more contact. Unfortunately, Jordan Brennan has lost out. He's dropped down to P4. He could even lose 4 positions. I know he's gone down to P7. So that's a really big shame for him. He has got the pace, though, so I'm sure there's going to be positions made up. As I say that, there's another. Isaac Smith has dropped down the field again. He's now in P10.
Jack McIntyre as well, buddy. Jack McIntyre dropping down like a stone as well. He's down 12th, 13th and falling further. So, yeah, some definite contact there. And that's one of the big names dropping right down the grid now. Jack McIntyre in 15th, and I'm not sure he hasn't stopped going down yet.
That's not what we want to see, is it there? That's not what we want to see. Jack McIntyre all the way down in P15. So Isaac Smith and Jack McIntyre losing out on the restart big time. But Robbie Stapleford has pulled out a second and a half within one lap. Not even a lap.
That's great.
That's absolutely incredible.
Absolutely awesome from Robbie. He came out of that last chicane and timed his run perfectly, and I think he maybe just caught second place, napping a little bit, and it gave him almost a second before they sort of went into Campbell and Cobb, as it were. But he's really perfect on that, and he's sort of gained himself a bit of space.
He has, very much so. Dave, just want to touch really quickly on that restart. I know that obviously, you know, we speak about it a lot, and we will be speaking about it for the remainder of this championship. But how crucial is it for these guys to make sure that they keep some heat in the tyres and not push the car so hard at the start?
It's massively important. You know, these cars tend to have reasonably good rear traction anyway. You know, the rear engine, the massive fat tyres on the back, and you know, you've got a right foot that you can modulate, you know, how much you spin the rear up with. But you know, keeping temping them front tyres, it's almost everything for the restart. You know, you saw Rob Butler there. I think, you know, Robbie got a fantastic start, and I don't think Jordan was necessarily napping. It was just such a surprise to see how fast Rob was getting back onto the back of Jordan Brennan after that restart. It basically gave Jordan no chance in first corner to even defend it. He was already alongside. And just unfortunately, it looked like a little bump off the curb, and it just nudged Jordan wide. And then, you know, you saw, as we see, is that Tom O'Farrell and is that Rob Butler gone off? No, sorry, Tom O'Farrell gone off. Yeah, massive shame to see Jordan struggle on the first corner, but you know, he's a good driver. We'll see how he fights back, and you know, he'll be fighting for the podium.
Absolutely, I'm sure he will, because we've got that we had a couple more cars that were going. I think Matt Richards had a bit of an excursion going through Campbell Cobb, but I believe that was Seagrave where he really lost the back end and the car went wide. He managed to keep it going in a straight line though. However, he's dropped back to P13, so not ideal from him at all, as we're now currently on board with M. Sutton. Just have a look, sorry, that was apologies, that's very, very poor on my part. Mick Sutton, there we go, sorry. Mick Sutton that we've got currently on board in P7, 8/10 of a second behind Max Bird in P6. So he's got a little bit of a gap. He's also got a big gap behind him between Keir McConomy as well. So he needs to just, at the moment, do what he needs to do, crack on with the race. It's a good point haul for him if he can keep in 7th position. Looking a bit further down the field though, we've got Jack McIntyre has already worked his way back up to 11th position, couple of tenths away from Andy Dorman, I believe that is. It is indeed. He's got past Andy Carroll and is 3 tenths away now from Andy Dorman. This is the battle, as I said, I'm just going to go back to Jack, apologies. So yeah, this is the battle for P10. What he needs to do here, we've got both, look at that. Mike there on the broadcast, giving us as much racing as we can handle. So yeah, bottom right hand corner of your screen, this is Jack McIntyre versus Andy Dorman. As I said, he's just going to go up the inside. I believe that is Seagrave, so cracking move there. Very, very textbook indeed. So he's back into P10, working his way through the field, really motoring along. And the top left of your screen, this at the back, that's a very, very late move there. Wow, that was both drivers just giving enough of a gap as they needed to. No more, no less. I'm just looking, this I believe is the battle for P2. So this is Rob Butler, Max Edmondson and Jordan Brennan all trying to gain P2. So very, very close. Yes, to be fair, and there's some cracking racing around this circuit so far.
Yeah, absolutely. But Robbie Stapleford doing what he needs to do with the fastest lap of the race at the moment of 1:10.7. Having said that, his last lap was a 1:11.1. Rob Butler's was at a 1:11 dead. So Rob Butler made up a 10th. Doesn't sound a lot, but a 10th's a 10th. But yeah, Robbie Stapleford's got his head down as we're just looking at Jack McIntyre there as they go 3 wide to turn 1, and unfortunately 2 of them have spun. I think that is Isaac Smith and McIntyre.
That was nearly such a good hold there by Isaac, but that wall has took no prisoners there, has it? That there is the definition of 3 don't go into 1, wasn't it? You know, the outside guy was never going to know Jack was up the inside there. Isaac's a sitting duck in the middle, not really anywhere to go. You know, that is a big racing incident.
Yeah, very lucky for Isaac there. Like you say, he lost out big time, and Jack was just trying to gain those places, but 3 into 1 just didn't go. And certainly not at that point on the track. But heads down racing, and we're just watching Carroll at the moment in 10th place, who's coming under pressure from Richards behind. He's only 2 tenths at the back, and getting ever closer, as I think that slipstream's helping him.
Very much so. I think, as we say that, Matt Richards has unfortunately had another excursion on the track, so he's dropped a little bit there. So I'm sure he has got the pace, so he's going to try and catch right back up to the back of Andy Carroll, and he's going to try and make that move again for P10. But at the moment, Andy Carroll doing a very, very top job, currently in P10. 7 tenths, or as I said, it's just determined to 8 tenths now behind Andy Dorman, as we're just now switching to Rob Butler in P2. Currently 2 seconds behind Robbie Stapleford, but at the moment still keeping Max Edmondson behind him. 7/10 of a second is the gap. Is that going to close down? Not entirely sure. We've got 10.5 minutes left of this race. I wonder, now we're going to start to see, Dave, potentially some time management. I mean, at the moment, Robbie Stapleford, he's going to be managing his tyres so well. I can imagine while he is probably pushing at the same time, because he's not racing anyone at the moment, he's just going to be trying to conserve his tyres as much as he can at this moment in time.
Yeah, I think Robbie's driving smart. I think he's driving within himself, and if he can do that, he's going to keep it on the road and just, drive home the race. Rob's a smart guy as well. He drives for the championship. I'm not saying he's not going to try for the win, but he's not going to push the car harder than he thinks he can drive it, and put it off because he's trying to push too hard. He'll be happy with second. It's good championship points, and I don't know how keen-eyed he'll be, but huge news is Jack McIntyre is actually retired. He's in the pit lane now in race 1. So if Rob's seen that, he'll be thinking, championship points for second place, and Jack's in the pits. This is a really good point haul. But this also means for race 2, Jack will be starting near the back of the grid and won't get a reverse grid. So this is massively going to jumble up this championship.
Is very much so. That's definitely, sorry Steve, just to write, that's definitely not what Jack wanted. Well, I mean, one knows, this race could potentially, this championship is now going to, it was going to be close anyway. This could potentially go down to the last race of the last round of the championship. We just see Andy Dorman unfortunately losing out to a couple of positions, so he's dropped down into P11. So a little bit of a off track there, grass excursion. He's dropped down 2 positions because of it. Again, Steve, this is just showing that a small little mistake and you lose, like I said, in this case, 2 positions in the space of about a second and a half.
Yeah, absolutely, and as you were just saying there, this is a fantastic race for the championship at the moment, as that looks like Richards again running very, very wide there. And I have one question for Dave, obviously, because Dave's spent a bit of time in these cars around Thruxton. We're seeing quite a few people running wide, and it's usually when they're in packs. How much does that front aero, what difference does it make when you're up behind a car in front in these cars? Does it make you understeer more? Is it very vital, and is it difficult to run close behind the car in front on Thruxton?
Yeah, so that's the thing. We noticed it particularly in Donington going down towards the old hairpin in the first round. These cars, when you're within about a car length or 2 of the car in front, they don't follow particularly well. So you can see they have an absolutely massive wing on the back of the car. They don't have a relatively big front splitter, so that car is making really turbulent air for the car behind, and also taking downforce away on the front splitter for the car that's following. But yet that car that's following still has that massive wing on the back trying to lift the front of the car up. So that's why you're seeing it so hard to sort of follow that closely. Not to mention the fact the speeds here are, as you see there, 140 mile an hour through Church Bend. That's realistically why it's so hard to follow.
Yeah, and it's very, very difficult, and that's why we're probably seeing a few guys running wide, and boy, are they losing time when they do run wide, as they're, that looks like Carroll just getting a little bit sideways there as he heads into club and onto the start-finish straight, which is giving Richards a fantastic opportunity to close the gap right up on him. But I don't think there's going to be an opportunity into the first corner. I think he's going to wait for Campbell maybe.
And now just looking through, Matt Richards has been surprisingly, at the moment, he's just setting up his opportunities. We've got Andy Carroll that's defending a little bit, going through into, I believe that was Campbell. So we got Cobb and then Seagrave. He needs to maximise the exit. Is he going to try and get the cutback? I'm guessing that Matt is going to. He's just about got the run. It was how they didn't make contact, I have no idea, but fair play to Matt Richards and Andy Carroll for not making contact. He's going to try and go around the outside. It's going to give him the inside position for Goodwood, and that is job done. Off we go. So Matt Richards now up to P9, 1.2 seconds behind McConomy. So he is now going to want to get his head down, catch up to him. Matt has got the pace. He just needs to make sure he doesn't try and doesn't keep going wide through Church. We're just going to see him go through again. So hopefully he doesn't go wide as he has done previously. But we're now just going through, and he does make it indeed. So Rob Butler, apologies. We've now gone on to, this is Robbie Stapleford. So currently leading still in the car number 20, as I believe we've just actually switched over to, this is Rob Butler in P2. So 1.7 seconds now is the gap. He's actually pulled it down a little bit. The gap was almost or just over 2 seconds between Butler and Stapleford. That gap has now come down. It's also come down another 2/10, so 1.4. I wonder if Robbie's trying to manage his tyres, or maybe he's used up too much of his tyres and Rob's been a bit more, been slightly easier on the tyres. We've got now Matt Richards currently riding on board with McConomy again going to try and do a carbon copy move. He doesn't quite make it, so instead he tries to go around the outside, and that was another textbook move from Matt Richards there, as I just see McConomy. Obviously, that little bit of contact unfortunately upset the balance of the car from McConomy, and he's dropped down now into P13. I think, to be honest, Dave, that looked to be it's just a bit of a racing incident, wasn't it, unfortunately?
Yeah, I think that was just a racing incident. I think that was just a bit unfortunate that, Key is so mad, had got the move around the outside, and, fair, respectful, he just didn't want to, give him the door and put him off the track, and in doing so, balance the car and span himself out. So, fair play to Kia there. That could have been a nasty crash for Matt if he pushed him out on the grass there. But I think we've got to give a bit of credit to Matty. He's a driver who's come into this championship late. He's only entered this round so far. He's seen it. He wanted to give it a go. Entries aren't close to enter this championship. You enter per round basis. So you wanted to give it a go. You're given 18 kilograms for your first entry into a championship that's already running. So he's actually running half of maximum ballast at the moment. So to get it up to 8th place, he's really shown his racecraft and his knowledge on the sim, isn't he?
Well, exactly. Yeah, very much. He's got some really good knowledge on the sim. But it's good to see people that are trying the championship out and getting involved. What we hope we'll be able to see is a few people that come in and stay for the remainder of the 3 championships that are going to be going on over the next 3 months. Currently, at the moment, focus is on the battle for P10. So we've got Rob Walters and Andy Dorman. The gap's just about 3/10. So Rob Walters is going to get the draft all the way down, going through into the last section, going through into club. So it's be interesting to see, is he going to make the move or is he going to try and wait to somewhere else? I think Campbell's quite a good overtaking opportunity. I suppose that whole section, you've got Campbell, Cobb and Seagrave. If people can get a really good run going at Seagrave, they can go through to Noble, Goodwood. They can just try and maximise that run going through. It seems to be a very, very good exit at the moment, as we see there. This is now turned into the battle for P9. So you've got Andy Carroll, both Andys, with Rob Walters there. And at the moment, in the right-hand corner, so we've now got 2 screens up. And that's just moved to the main screen. We've got Jordan Brennan and Max Edmondson. Gap is now 2/10. This is the battle for the last step on the podium with 3 minutes left, or just over 3 minutes left. That's a few, 2, maybe even 3 laps. And we're going to see you come out. As you can see how bumpy these cars are going through, Steve. These cars are so unsettled going through Church. That's incredible.
Yeah, well, that's another thing that makes them very difficult to drive, is they are a very stiff, rigid car to drive. And they don't like the bumps, and that's obviously something they're having to put up with tonight. Rob Butler's doing as much as he can. Just to talk about the top 2 at the minute, he's currently on the fastest lap of the race with a 1:10.7. And he's sort of... That gap's going between the 1.7 and the 2 second mark all the time at the moment. So it's almost like Robbie Stapleford's got the measure of him, and he's just maybe managing those tyres and just managing that gap to bring it home with the last 2.5 minutes to go. But it's been a great drive from those guys up at the front so far to manage. But what is interesting when you're watching these guys, all the different lines that they're all taking. Some of them are taking big, wide, sweeping lines in, and some of them are taking slightly tighter lines than others. And it's all working whichever way you look at it for various drivers.
Yeah, I think this really sort of goes to show again the different driving styles. Dave, obviously for 10/10s, when you're doing the driver coaching, it's probably something that you see quite often. Is it? I suppose again, when you're driver coaching, you have to be very, very specific with you for each individual.
Yeah, massively. I mean, it's very easy to just chuck a setup online that I would regard works around Thruxton. My driving style, I drive a really quite aggressive car. I think I like the way it turns in at and get the car to do what I do. I like to let it dance a bit, if you like. Very similar, if you watch Jordan Brennan drive a car, you see the car move around a lot underneath him as you come in through Church. But if I put that setup online, sell it to whoever wants to buy it, that setup isn't necessarily going to work for them. So it's very important that in the coaching sessions, we get the car in the ballpark of what they want the car to do, but then it's important to tailor that car to the way they want to drive it. It's one thing to have a fast car, but if you've got a fast car that you don't feel's under you and that is consistent, then you probably won't finish the race. Whereas if you've got a car that's really under and you feel confident, I think like we're seeing from Robbie Stapleford, you can see what it can do.
Very, very true indeed. No, it's a good point to raise. I said, no, I don't think, while you've got some similarities and people sort of do drive the same, I don't think any two drivers do have the exact same driving style for any track, to be fair, in any car. So it's all very, very, there's sort of minor differences in drivers. At the moment, though, this is still the battle for P3. It's still raging on. We've got Jordan Brennan and Max Edmondson. Currently, the gap is 0.2. 0.3 of a second quicker was Jordan Brennan that last lap. So we have one more lap after this. As we've just got some of the blue flags are being waved. You see Max Emerson taking a little bit of a defensive line. Again, that could just be his normal line that he takes. I don't think Jordan Brennan was actually quite expecting the speed difference going through Campbell and Cobb, so he has dropped off a little bit of pace. And we're just getting two wheels on the grass, utilising all of the space and track and a little bit more. Obviously, that has dropped him at pace a little bit as well. But you can see here that Jordan Brennan was riding the curve, Max wasn't. So it's really interesting to see how these two really quite actually different driving styles visually are really putting in similar sort of lap time, Steve.
Yeah, very much so, and it's down to, like you say, it's the driving styles and how hard they're pushing and just running onto some of those curbs. I mean, some of those curbs look quite a little bit savage, as we're just looking at Walters at the moment in 10th place with Fairclough just 3/10 behind him, as the clock has ticked to 0 now. So Stapleford's still maintaining that lead, albeit it's come down to 1.3 seconds now, as we're just back on board with Brennan looking up the road at Edmondson now, as he's still battling hard for that 3rd place. And literally, there's just nothing to split these guys in these last few laps while we've been watching them, and it's going to come down now to a last lap move if Brennan wants that final step on the podium. There's all off, and it looks like he's got it there. That was a close camera angle. It almost looked like Edmondson had maybe over-defended or made a mistake. Just couldn't quite tell from where we were watching there. But Brennan really he was opportunistic, and he was quick enough to take advantage.
He was, absolutely. So Jordan Brennan up to 3. He's now taken that top or last position on the podium. But couple more corners left. This is now the battle. So in the top right corner of your screen, you've got Robbie Stapleford, who's currently leading with 2 or more corners to go. He's got to go through Club and he'll take the win. But this is the battle for P9, I'm guessing. As I say that, we've got Rob Walters that's just lost out of position, unfortunately, to Will Fairclough. But this is going to be so close. They're going to go too wide. But Robbie Stapleford takes the race 1 win for round 3 of the VRRC League of Champions Porsche Challenge Cup. What a fantastic drive from him. But we're going to jump on that in a second. There's still some battles to be had. Still currently on the screen is Will Fairclough. He has got half a second to try and make up on Robin Walters. I don't quite think he's going to do it unless Robin Walters has a little bit of a mistake. But this is the battle for P10. He needs to make sure that he gets his braking zone and gets the braking done exactly right. I think what he's hoping is a bit of flame there from the Porsche. We can see really, really good stuff. Corner for the final time. He's actually brought up about 1/10 of a second, but it's not going to be enough. So Robin Walters takes P10 with Will Fairclough taking P11. Gents, I mean, Robbie Stapleford, what a drive from him. That was such a dominant drive.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely fantastic drive from Robbie. But good to see Rob Butler. I mean, he answered his own question there, or our question, should I say, sorry, there regarding tyres, because he put the fastest lap of the race in on the last lap with a 1 minute 10 second 0.4. So, he wasn't far away from those qualifying times. So that's telling me that his tyres were in pretty good shape towards the end of that race. And as we saw, he closed the gap right down to Robbie, although looking at the lap time, Robbie's last lap time, Robbie had just eased off ever so slightly, probably just to bring it home. But great racing from those guys, and really looking forward to race 2.
Absolutely, there's going to be some cracking racing with that car grid reversal. But yeah, Robbie Stapleford, very, very good indeed. And also Rob Butler, like I said, putting in that fast lap. So as you were saying, Dave, he's playing for the championship, really, isn't he? He's really playing for that championship and trying to make sure he maximises the points, doesn't take too many liberties, especially now that Jack McIntyre had retired from race 1.
Yeah, I think now we've got a case where Robbie, Rob and Jordan will all be looking at this as, Wolf, Jack's retired, and, it's going to be all to play for. But, I mean, the standout drivers in there is obviously Robbie, but you look down the order and you've got Charlie Oliver and Mick Sutton and Matt Richards, who's his first race in the Porsche, 6th, 7th and 8th. That is a fantastic effort from them lot.
Very, very true indeed. No, absolutely. Looking forward to race 2. We have got a few people in the commentary booth waiting to be interviewed. Steve, do you want to jump down and have a chat with them?
Yeah, I could go down there now and ask a few questions, no problem.
Awesome.
Good evening, gentlemen. Just going to go to the race winner first. Robbie, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Well done, buddy. Pole position, first place. Couldn't have done much more than that, could you?
Nope, couldn't do anything more.
Did it all go to plan? Was there any tyre management in there, or was it just pretty much like you said in your pre-race interview, where you just need to keep your head down, do your laps, and everything worked out okay for you, did it?
Yeah, I've just got a good start off the line, and then when safety car come out, just got an even better start, and then pulled a gap, and then just had to hold it from there and not make any silly mistakes.
Yeah, that safety car restart was a masterclass. I mean, you literally had a second gap before the end of that first lap back out away from the safety car. So I think that gave you that bit of breathing space to allow you to keep going. So well done, buddy. But you're gonna have a lot more work to do in race 2.
Yep, just got to keep it clean and make my way forward slowly. But
no worries. Well, I'm going to let you go, get ready for that, mate. But well done for race 1 and good luck for race 2.
Thank you.
No problem. If I can move to Rob. Rob, you all right, buddy? You battled hard at the beginning there. Then once you got into some clear air, the gap sort of always seemed to remain around 2 seconds. Was there much else you could have done?
Yeah, at the restart, I think Jordan missed a gear or something, and we went side by side into one. I tried to keep the car as tight as I could, but on the curb, these cars bottom out, and unfortunately, we both ran out of road, and he ran wide. So my apologies to Jordan for that, but I did try my best. But yeah, Robbie was just so fast out front, and I've been really struggling with race pace, so I've tried to set the car up to come on at the end of the race, as you've probably seen there as we start to close the gap. But maybe I just needed a little bit more at the start to keep a little bit closer, and yeah, if I qualified pole, it might have been a different story. But yeah, it was a good race, and massive well done to Robbie and Jordan in third.
Yeah, and well done to you, mate. I mean, because obviously you showed us there that you had managed your tyres very well, because you set the fastest lap of the race on the last lap. So well done for that, mate. And as I said to Robbie there, race 2, you've got a bit more work to do, mate. And I think it's going to be quite tricky around Thruxton to get past everybody.
Yeah, it will be. And
so,
yeah, it will be difficult, all right. So hopefully I need another solid result for the championship, and we'll go from there.
yeah, absolutely, mate. Well done on that one, and good luck for race 2. I'm just going to move over to Jordan Brennan.
Hello.
Hey, Jordan, and that was a good drive from you. Battled pretty hard, it has to be said, throughout that race, and enjoyable.
Yeah, it was. I'd completely messed up that safety car restart. I just weren't even ready. Don't know what happened, but I managed to get back up there, and then I was surprised that Max just let me through. He just sort of pulled off to the side, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, well, we were actually riding on board with you when you got past him on one of the wheel arch cams, so we couldn't quite tell if Max had made a mistake or you'd just basically stuffed it up the inside, because we'd seen a couple of laps. He seemed to be a bit slower through that section than you anyway. You had a big closing speed on him. Yeah, I mean, did you learn anything for race 2? Is it anything different, or is it just lights out and race hard to the flag?
Keep it on the track.
Yeah, keep it on the track, and if the safety car comes out, try not to get caught napping.
Yeah, exactly.
All
I'll
right. quickly butt in here, Steve. Go for it.
The big news here, Jordan, I don't want to put the pressure on.
I know,
Obviously, Jack's retired race 1. You know, he's well back for the reverse grid, because he obviously didn't finish the race, and that's actually meant you and Jack are now tied on the championship lead.
Lovely. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so this has really opened up the championship. So have you got a strategy here? You're just going to try and bring it home, and are you going to be watching in your mirror for Jack, or are you going to just try and get your head down and try and go forward?
Survive. That's all I can do.
Right, I'll let you crack on then, mate. Good luck.
Yeah, cheers, Jordan. Good luck for race 2, mate.
Thank you.
And there we go. Well, I think, Jess, to be fair, that's as good of advice as any. Just keep it on the track. I suppose that's really, you can't say much more than that, can you?
No, absolutely not. And it's like we saw in race 1, it's quite difficult for the guys to do with the aero wash on some of these fast corners. It's easy to lose the front end, but they'll have all learnt a lot from that first race, and it was good to see that the guys managed to look after the tyres enough to still be pushing towards the end and still battling very, very hard. And I think race 2 is going to be very, very interesting with those guys coming from halfway down the grid.
It really, really is. Well, all drivers are on the grid, as you can see, for race 2, with the reverse grid just about to get underway. The top 12 are being reversed, so we are going to see that's just about to take off now, and lights are about to go out. And we are racing for race 2. We've got a very, very slow start for one of the races at the back of the grid. As I say that, I believe may having a few technical issues.
We seem to have a car upside down on the grid, so maybe a server issue there. So probably just jump into reset the grid and sort of go again. So a little bit more of an opportunity for us guys to talk a little bit and inform the audience.
Well, absolutely. I think what we'll, I think one of the things we're probably going to say, and I think this is a question we could probably ask, I'm going to ask both of you gents, is, Dave, who is the money on? Who is your money on for race 2? Or is it generally one of these ones where it's just too close to call?
Well, unfortunately, tech gremlins do happen in the sim world, the same way as, tech issues do happen in the real world. Unfortunately, in the real world, tech issues only tend to lend to timing or individual cars. In sim world, if we have a tech issue with the server, it hinders the whole grid. So unfortunately there we had a driver lose connection, spawn back in, and then when he spawned back in, it's unfortunately spawned on top of a car and turned upside down. So these things do happen, but luckily Rich, the organizer's on it, he's reset the server. But as we see, another tech issue now, it's race result off race 1 and not a reverse grid. So it's unfortunate, but we've got to deal with what we've got. So Robbie Staplefoot's on front row of the grid, Rob Butler second. Will they be smart and think of the championship and just try and get away? Or, will Rob go, I want this win? I think he's probably going to want this win.
Well, I suppose this is the other thing as well, is it? Rob is definitely going to be, he's not going to be shying away from that race win either. Steve, same question for yourself. Like, what do you reckon after watching race 1, which was as action-packed as ever? What's the theory for race 2? Well,
if Robbie Stapleford's starting up at the front, I would say you've got to call it Robbie. I mean, he managed that race very, very well, although it has to be said Rob Butler was matching him for times, and I think if it had got away with Robbie at the start, then it could have been a closer race. But yeah, I think it'd be between those two guys. Jordan, I think, will just basically probably drive the car to bring the result home, as he was talking to Dave earlier there. He's now tied in the lead for the championship, so they'll all be looking at the big picture, but none more so than Jordan Brennan at the moment, because he's got the opportunity to go into next week as the leader of the championship, which is it's the best place to be, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, indeed. It's going to all come round to the last round. It's probably, I think, again, with Jack McIntyre unfortunately retiring from race 1, it's going to come round to the last, potentially to the last race. Being tied on points and all now. Again, it's just going to be so very close indeed. I can't wait for the last round, and we've not even finished this one yet. It's just there's just so much racing to be had, and like I said, I can't wait for next week. And then obviously, we've then got the next 3 championships going after that. So it's just constant, clean racing, which is so enjoyable for us as commentators, and it's also enjoyable for people that are watching as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the VRRC championships are all very, very exciting, and it's great racing, and it's a great community to be part of. So, if you want to be a part of it, you just need to check out the website for details, but also join the Discord channel and become part of the community that is VRRC.
Indeed. So, all drivers, we've had the server restart. All drivers are back on the grid. No cars that have flipped over this time around, so all the technical gremlins seem to have been sorted. So, all being well, the lights are just about to come on now. You can see them just on the bottom right hand and the top left hand of the screen. Just about to go on, and they are away. This is it for race 2 of the VRRC Round 3 League of Champions. Again, a pretty even start. Everyone's quite clean. There's no one that's running wide. So I think people have potentially learned, hopefully not a commentator's curse, people have learned the lesson from race 1. Everyone is still on the track. People are going 2, potentially even 3 wide, going through into the second half. Well, as I say that, that's very, very close indeed. Max Edmondson, we just had a bit of a spin, a bit of contact as well. There are cars off everywhere. As I say that, we've had about 6 or 7 cars that are off. That has not gone to plan for a couple of these guys. I'm just looking through. So we've got Fairclough that's dropped down. We've got as well, I believe, a couple of other people lost out. So Will Fairclough has dropped down all the way to P20. I'm just having a look, going through. So Jack McIntyre has already worked his way up to P12, so he's gained a lot of positions there. So that's to be beneficial for him. Robbie Stapleford is still leading, with Rob Butler 6 tenths behind, and then Max Bird 5 tenths behind that. So this is shaping up already to be a very, very close race. As I say that though, Robbie Stapleford has again pulled almost or nearly 3/4 of a second out of the guys, and I'm
Safety
guessing
car,
just
safety
safety
car,
car as well. Just about to say that. Sorry, Steve.
I thought the way that was a car park in first corner, there was no way that wasn't going to be a safety car, was there? So yeah, it's a shame to start the race in that way. I think that was probably just one person got tapped round, and you know, it's such a tight right-hander with such a packed grid. You know, that's probably 20 cars going into a section where, you know, they can't avoid each other. It's a shame to see, but this is the great addition of the safety car to bunch the pack back up, and they all got a second go at it.
I was just going to say, Dave, it's a brilliant idea, is this safety car, obviously, to bring it in, because you know, you get a lot of guys that get involved in that incident there that you know, potentially that they haven't picked up much damage or any damage at all. But it's nice that they get the chance now to group back up again and all follow the safety car around. And once the safety car pulls in, it's green flag racing. And but the pack's bunched up again. Nobody's lost out majorly on that incident. It's like I say, I think VRRC have to be commended for bringing the safety car into these events.
Yeah, it's something that I think any sim racer would know the feeling. You know, you get taken out in a corner. It's not necessarily the driver's fault that's behind you. He's either clipped the grass or he's being nudged and it puts you out the race. And there's not a worse feeling than having 20 minutes of a race left and you know 30 seconds behind the pack with no chance of catching. So we thought, you know, we'll try it in the League of Champions. We'll bring a safety car to it and see if it's really going to help the racing. And I think you'd agree, it's really helping, you know, keep the interest there for the drivers that have spun out. But as we see here, it's just about to get ready for the restart.
We are indeed. Restart is about to go. I don't think Robbie Stapleford has got the jump as he did in race 1. He hasn't, so the gap is only about 2 tenths from Rob Butler, and then Max Bird another couple of tenths behind that. So Robbie Stapleford not getting the jump that he did get in race 1, although as I say that, he still pulled about 3 or 4 tenths of a second, so really carrying that speed through turn 1. He obviously seems to have some good confidence on the brakes. We've got Jordan Brennan and Max Bird having some contact there. I think Max Bird very up the inside, and actually I think it looks to be Max Bird has let the gap. Yeah, the Max Bird.
That's a great racecraft.
Yeah, no, very much so. We've got a car off there. That was unfortunately Matt Richards again going off at Seagrove, so he's not finding that corner too helpful at the moment. But yeah, fair play to Max Bird. He realised that the mistake was there. He realised that I think just putting up the inside wasn't the best way to go, and he did let that position go and let Jordan Brennan straight back through. So no, very, very good sportsmanship. And again, that's what we like about these championships, and that's what we like about the championships held by VRRC. It's really, really good. Everyone understands if there's an issue and they do potentially make a mistake, and they do recognise that straight away. Although I think we've got Max Edmondson that's going to try and make a move on Max Bird going through into the club chicane. Doesn't quite get the car stopped in time, doesn't quite make the move. He's trying to maximise the exit that he can, although he has dropped about half a second off of Max Bird there. But Robbie Stapleford, again, top guys putting in some really, really quick lap times. Robbie Stapleford was the only one in the 111s, half a second quicker than Rob Butler. So that gap has already gone up to 7 tenths of a second. So again, Robbie Stapleford is just on a mission to try and get the gap away as much as he can from Rob Butler, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. Robbie seems to be able to light it up from the minute that you know, he's given the green light to go, and he seems to be able to put those times in and really work that Porsche hard, and seems to have the heat in the tyres as we're looking at Edmondson and Walters there pushing really hard. But you know, Butler, he's not far away. Butler's had to defend a little bit now from Brennan as well, who's only half a second behind Butler, and you know, we know how fast all these guys are, but Brennan's really going to put the pressure on Butler, which is what Stapleford would want, which that will potentially allow him just to keep driving his lines. As we see that gap there on the screen, it's reasonably big now for Stapleford, to allowing him to drive his lines. As we've just seen someone going off really wide there and managing to get back on the track, but they've just lost 2 positions through that move, and I'm not quite sure, was that Oliver? So yeah, that was Oliver just dropping down there as they're coming into the final chicane, which is club and onto the start-finish straight. But that's 4 cars in very close attendance, and that's Isaac Smith getting past Oliver by the looks of that as well, and tucking it in very neatly before the first corner and getting that job done. Although it's looking like Isaac Smith is trying to come back at him now, and he's got the inside line for the first chicane, and it's looking like he might get that job done. But Oliver and Smith playing very hard ball there with each other, a little bit of contact, but all's fair in love and war, and it's looking like Smith has got that position back.
He has indeed. Smith up to P14. It hasn't been the round that he's had so much pace, and he unfortunately, in terms of race position, hasn't been able to exploit it. As I said, he's going to try and go up the inside of Tempera. Doesn't quite make that move. I think, again, that was just the line that he was potentially taking, trying to maximise that pace. Although, as I say that, it looks to be Oliver has got the position back. They're going to go 2 wide going through Church. That's very, very brave indeed. And unfortunately, that's as close as you want to get at 135 miles an hour. That was very, very close indeed. But the battle for, I believe this is the battle for P6 still rages on. You've got Matt Richards and Max Edmondson battling for P7. Matt has dropped off a little bit since we've been on him. Only about 2 or 3 tenths, but it's just enough. Again, he may be setting himself up as we're now going to go back down to Smith and Oliver battling. So Smith is going to go back at the inside. That was a little bit of contact. Smith running wide, and that's unfortunately put Tempera in the wall. There was no way he was going to avoid that. That was a bit of a shame there, Dave.
Yeah, I think I'm seeing Isaac just being maybe a little bit aggressive here. We'll probably have to have a look back over that over the race, but yeah, I think he's probably just a driver who, you know, he's got the speed here, and maybe he's just getting a bit frustrated. He's thinking he should be further up, and he's trying to get through the pack too quickly. You know, it's a 20-minute race. You can bide your time on this track. There's only 2 real overtaking opportunities, and as you saw before, as we see Jordan Brennan's off.
Yeah,
Brennan's gone off. So that's really going to mix things up again. You know, but as I was saying before, you know, it's a case of, you know, Isaac tried to get past Tempera just before Church, you know, and you saw he tried to put it up the inside, but because of that, he didn't get the move done, and he must have lost, you know, 4 or 5 car lengths. So it's very much about when you get the move done, you have to make it work, and if you don't, then you lose out.
Yeah, Isaac Smith's just taken 11th place from Dorman as well there, so he's on the move, and he's certainly charging forward. And just to answer Lucy Fairclough's question in the chat regarding is it supposed to be a reverse grid for race 2, yes it is, but unfortunately we did have a technical issue with the server which has started race 2 in the race 1 finishing order, so that's why the race isn't reverse grid at the moment. So hopefully that answers your question.
We're just going to go on the screen now. This is the battle for P7. So you've got Jack McIntyre again making some position. This is good for Jack. He is working his way through the field, so he's making some good progress up to P8. Currently 2 tenths off of the back of Matt Richards. Is Matt going to go wide through Church? He seems to have got that corner pretty much nailed now. So is Jack going to try and make the move? He's gaining time. Again, the gap is now just under 2 seconds. He's going to have a little bit of a look. He does think better of it, though he's way too far back, I think, at this point. But again, some slightly interesting thing. We can see different lines being taken from both drivers as Matt getting it very, very sideways on the exit. As I say that, Jack's getting it very sideways as well. These guys are driving to the absolute limit of what these cars can do. But yeah, unfortunately, and I believe that's Matt Richards with a very, very quick lap time. Is that personal best? That was a 1:11.258, so a couple of tenths quicker, and it's one of the quickest cars on the in the race at the moment for this particular session. So Matt has really got adjustments really well made. As I say that, he is driving the wheels off of that car. He's going to have no tyres left by the end of this day.
This just shows, Dan, this, you know, you drive this car aggressive and it does respond well to it, but as you said there, will his tyres last? I'm not sure whether them slides there have really worn down that back left, and I think he's struggling around all the right-handers, which is obviously not a good thing around Thruxton. So I think Jack will be sitting back looking at this and going, you know, I think Matt's pushing fair hard here to try and,
either close the gap or hold me off, I'm going to sit back, let him go through his tyres and then make an easy pass. But I know these two drivers do actually drive on the same sim team, as we see there. Matt Richards into a right-hander, he's gone wide. He's cut the chicane there, but the car distance has stayed the same. He hasn't really gained an advantage by doing that. That's what we like to see. But yeah, so they drive on the same sim esports team. So, I don't know whether if Jack gets onto the back of him, how much Matt will actually defend this, knowing that Jack is a front runner in the championship and he's only doing the one round. But we'll wait and see. No driver likes to be overtaken.
Absolutely not. I was just going to say, looking at the front guys at the moment, that gap at Stapleford, it was down at one point to half a second on the last lap as Butler was charging hard. But Stapleford's got that gap back again as we're just watching McIntyre again now in 8th place, looking to put a move on Richards for 7th. And he's managing to follow fairly closely there and hold a tighter line. So he's really got that car planted and he's got the controls. He's really tucked in now. As we just see the Porsche jumping over the bumps in the road, he's flashing his lights. He's making Richards aware that he's there and he's trying to put the pressure on, but he's just dropped back out of what would be a position to maybe have an attack in the braking zone.
Yeah, I think, and as we said, that I believe. Go a little bit deep. I wonder if I'm just looking at that. I wonder if Matt let Jack by just then. He seemed to go very, very deep into the corner. But at the moment, that's released Jack now up into P7, so he is now 2.6 seconds back from Max Edmondson in P6. So we're going to have to watch out and see if that time drops. But at the moment, Rob Butler 1.3 seconds behind Stapleford again. Stapleford just managing that gap. Just looking through the YouTube chat as well. We really do apologise, Lucy. Obviously, we were excited to see Will on the front of the grid, but for next round, obviously everything will be sorted. As we got there, Johnson having a big sideways moment going out of Seagrave, just managing to keep it in a straight line, very well held. That definitely, definitely a contender for one of the saves of the round there, Dave, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I like to see, if I'm honest. I'm a rally guy at heart, and that fully sideways was, it was up there, to be fair. So, these Porsches, they are leery, they're sideways, they're very high power, they're loose. Luckily we had Max Bird, who's racing in this race. He actually did a test in line 11 not too many days ago, and he actually said the back end of this car in this game is significantly like what it's like in real life. Very loose, very snappy, a lot of power. So it's good to get the feedback from drivers who's actually driven this car in real life and, basically praise the setup of the car and how well it's been made to replicate it in a sim.
Yeah, exactly. So 7 minutes left remaining. I'm just looking. The gap has come down from Jack McIntyre to Max Edmondson, who is the focus on your screen, to 2.1 seconds. So Jack's taken a half a second out of Max that lap. He's got 6 minutes and 50 seconds left. So that's going to be very, very close come the end of the race, providing Jack can keep it on the tarmac and make up those same sort of gains. As I've been talking, the gap has now come down to 1.8. So Jack is on a mission. We got Max Edmondson only about 7/10 away from Rob Walters. So if Jack can really get the hammer down, he may even be contending for a top 5. Looking at just Robbie Stapleford again putting in a purple lap. That was a 1:10.752. So he takes another 10th out of Rob Butler, although that gap is still staying about the 1.4, 1.3 second mark. So could this be again, as we've said, and as we spoke to Rob, I believe he says his car's set up for nearer the end of the race. So is this what we're seeing now again, Steve, do we reckon?
Yeah, I think so. I think when he was obviously starting from the front row, he doesn't need to do anything much different to what he did in the first race and just try and control it. Although it's the gap has been yo-yoing maybe a little bit more than it was in the first race, but he's in control with a gap of 1.5 seconds, and the lap times the guys are putting in are literally within a tenth of each other either way each lap. So the gap's staying pretty stagnant, and we've got 5 minutes and 30 seconds left plus 1 lap. So it's he's getting that job done. He's protecting the tyres and he's doing what he needs to do. Rob Butler likewise. Jordan Brennan is the man with the fastest lap of the race at the moment, as we're just riding on board with Johnson now, who's looking up the road at O'Farrell and literally trying to keep his tighter line and gain the inside line, so that he'll maybe have an opportunity in the braking zone. If indeed he needs to do it in the braking zone, he's alongside now, and he's edged in front, and it's looking like maybe he's going to keep that move, keep that position, and just hold the line through here. And indeed he does. That's him moved up to 9th place.
Indeed, that was a move done and busted for Martin Johnson, taking the move on Tom O'Farrell going into club. It seemed to be O'Farrell got a bit of a slow exit going out of church, and obviously going through down the back straight, that really hurt him going through into club. So yeah, very much Johnson making that move and getting that move done almost before the braking zone into club.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Brennan just put the fastest lap of the race in on the last lap with a 1:10.6, which puts him within half a second, as you can see on your screen there, behind Butler. So Butler's going to start having to check his rear view mirror very, very soon if that gap continues to come down, as they're just approaching a slower car. But no real issues. It just about managed to get out of the way for the guys there. But yeah, Butler's going to have to start looking in his mirror a little bit. And again, Stapleford's going to enjoy that, because that's going to protect his gap a little bit. And he's going to just keep his head down, and 3 minutes 50 seconds to go, hopefully bring it home for a double this evening.
Potentially. Well, I'm just looking, the gap did drop down actually very briefly from Stapleford to Butler to just under a second. It has now gone up all the way up to 1.5. So I think this is going to be the gap. We've just got I think that is Max Edmondson taking P5 away from Robin Walters. So Walters has now dropped back and is very, very close to being the clutches from Jack McIntyre, who's now 8/10 behind Walters. I think Edmondson needed to do that. He's already gapped half a second away from Walters, so that was definitely something that Max Edmondson needed to do, as now focus has shifted to Jack McIntyre here. So he is going to be wanting, P5 is still within the cards from him. We know, and we have seen in the previous 2 rounds, he has got some really, really good pace, and he needs to, when he needs to, he can put in that lap time. As we've got there, that is Isaac Smith again dropping back. That looked to be out of Seagrave again. So this round has gone from bad to worse for him, and his luck is not improving at all there. So a bit of a shame from Isaac Smith. This definitely hasn't been his race, and I think, Dave, as well, from what we were talking about, I think potentially frustration definitely settling in there for Smith.
I think that's exactly what it is. You know, I know because I'm in the community on Discord. You know, I know that he's currently in Ireland at the moment. He's actually round Rob Butler's actually. So they've got 2 sims there. He's not in his home environment, but I'm not saying that's an excuse, because you've seen he's got the pace. But yeah, I think he's just maybe not quite feeling comfortable, and he's not quite feeling this race at the moment. So the race hasn't really come to him. He's maybe overpushed the car a bit there, and you know, his race results have suffered for that. But yeah, it's one of them things. But this battle between Jordan Brennan and Rob Butler, this is not done before the end of the race. I think Jordan's really feeling like the car's coming to him at the end of this race here, and he'll be biting on Rob's heels.
He will indeed. So, sorry, Steve, just say so. Yeah, Jack McIntyre, the gap's gone down to just over half a second. So Jack's really, he's still looking for P5, and it is not far off the cards. He's got to have 2 more laps of very, very quick ones, and he will be right on the tail, potentially making some moves. As I say that, he is pretty much there. So this is very much a battle that's going to be continuing on for P5 for the remainder. As I say that, Jack just getting held up there, unfortunately, from a bat marker, so that's dropped him off. The gap is now a second, so he's lost 6/10 just going through there. That could be the deciding factor for Jack between P7 and potentially P5.
Potentially, but I think we're going to have a couple more laps looking at the time left on the clock. Almost 2 laps maybe. But Jack, yeah, don't count him out. I would say definitely 6th place is still within his grasp. If he can, he's looking to have the Porsche very much under control, probably more so than Walters maybe in front of him. As we see Jordan Brennan.
I believe the server has just crashed.
Server issue, yeah, server issue.
Yet another tech issue tonight. This is not what we want to see, is it? But I believe with it being race distance of what it was, I would have thought race position after the server crashed will stand. So there's enough of the race distance covered there for us to take the results from, the same as in real life. Yet again, tech gremlins tonight, boys.
No, not ideal, not what we want. But yeah, as you say, we managed to go through enough of the race to make sure that we're going going to be taking those positions, providing some further confirmation that I'm sure we are going to receive in a minute. But provisionally, Robbie Stapleford, back-to-back wins at round 3. A very, very good result and a very good round for him. Rob Butler taking P2, as we can see now on the main screen. So you've got Robbie Stapleford taking the win provisionally for race 2. Rob Butler in P2 and Jordan Brennan rounding out the top 3. So very, very good indeed from these guys. I think Jordan Brennan, again, he has now taken the lead of this championship with Jack McIntyre finishing in P7. So unfortunately, that has really hurt him a little bit there. But all in all, a very, very good round for the top 3. And yeah, I think Robbie Stapleford will be very, very happy with that indeed.
Yeah, I think he's going to be over the moon with what is 40 points potentially for tonight's work. Jordan Brennan's probably going to take the championship lead, but Robbie Stapleford's not going to be far behind him. And the man that's really suffered this evening is Jack McIntyre, Dave.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, lads. I was actually trying to work out the maths there, but I haven't quite got the brain power to try and figure that out. But I believe Robbie Stapleford might have actually just nudged Jordan Brennan for the championship lead there. So he's put himself from 3rd place in the championship to now 1st. It's going to make the top 4 very, very close indeed.
Well, that's what we want from any championship, isn't it? You know, I mean, you want it as close as possible, right down to the wire. You want everything alive for the last round. So for the trophies for the Porsche Cup, it's all going to come down to that last round, isn't it?
It is indeed. And to be fair, sorry, Dave, I was going to jump in. What a way to end the round, Dave. Yeah,
I mean, it's not how we want to end the round. The racing was good, and I definitely don't think Jordan Brennan was finished fighting Rob there for second place. But it's nice to see enough of the race distance done there that the majority of the moves were done there, and it's over 80% to which it will be in a real life. So we can take the results from that. Robbie will be very, very happy with tonight. A pole and 2 wins. A round doesn't get any better than that, does it?
No, it doesn't. Very, very true indeed. That is maximum points gained. And like I said, potentially, as you were saying, Dave, he could have nabbed the championship lead as well going into the final round. So I think as confidence boosts go, there is pretty much nothing that you can get more from that. We have got a few people in the commentary box waiting to be interviewed. So, gentlemen, I think, shall we all go down there and have a chat with everyone?
Absolutely, yes. Let's do it.
So, good evening, gentlemen. I just would like to start, and firstly, I think with Mr. Robbie Stapleford. Are you there?
Evening.
Good evening. Well, I think as it turns around, the guys will agree with me. And the first thing to say is, well done. What a round from yourself. Maximum points gained, along with the pole position. How was that for you then?
Really good. I want to thank the server in the last one for putting me back on pole, so I didn't have to come through the field again.
I think it was, a couple of technical gremlins obviously didn't go the way what we were expecting, but I think how has this given you in terms of like a confidence boost? Is this something obviously I can imagine you're going to take forward into the last round, or is it is your game plan differed at all? Because we're just having a look at potentially you may have taken the lead in the championship.
Well, it's definitely given me more confidence into Alton that I've got a good chance in winning Porsche. So, and then I'll just keep the same game plan, not make any mistakes, and just try.
Absolutely. Well, at the end of the day, as you say, you try your best. But I'm sure this has given you a really good confidence boost. That's absolutely fantastic. So, no, Robbie, honestly, really, really good stuff. Before we wrap up with yourself, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Mum, Dad, family who's watching, and my nan.
Good stuff. Well, fantastic. Well, Robbie, look forward to catching up with you same time next week, and all the best for the next round. Hope obviously practice goes all well, and you're going to be putting in, as I'm sure you're going to be putting in a lot of laps now coming to the final round.
Yeah, will do. Thank you, Dan.
Brilliant. No worries. Take care, Robbie. So, and that was Robbie Stapleford there taking the win. So maximum points gain and a pole position. So very, very good indeed. Steve, are you there?
I am here indeed, yes.
Good stuff. I was going to say, if you have a chat with Jordan if you want.
Yeah, Jordan. Two good results this evening. Obviously, as Robbie alluded to there, the tech issues with the server just help you three guys out a little bit, so it was almost pretty much deja vu here. But you were battling a bit closer. You were closing up on Rob, certainly in those last couple of laps there before the server crashed. Was it an easier race for you in race 2?
At the start, it was a little bit messy, but it sort of came to me towards the end and through the race. At one point through the race, me and Rob were closing up on Robbie, and then a black market was just got in the way just into the chicane, so it let Robbie just pull away from us a bit. Well, then I managed to close back up again, and then the server went down.
Yeah, it looked like it was going to come to a fantastic finish, the race, because you had, like you say, you'd closed it all right back up to within half a second, and it looked more like Rob was going to have to focus on you rather than the gap ahead to Robbie, and you were really going to take the fight to him. Do you think you would have got the move done if had the server not crashed? I know that's a big open question, but do you think you had it within you with your times?
With the lap times, maybe, but it would have been a struggle getting past Rob. It wouldn't have made it easy.
No, absolutely not. He probably wouldn't have done. But yeah, championship-wise, we were trying to do some quick maths there, but none of us were quite quick enough to do the maths. But it's going to be very, very close. I think you've maybe just got it by a couple of points, just depending, on the fastest laps. But yeah, it's going to be very close between yourself and Robbie Stapleford, and just not quite sure where Jack finished in the end in that second race as well. So there's going to be definitely 3 or 4 of you battling it out next week at Alton Park, which is very much a different circuit to tonight. A lot more twists, a lot more turns, and a few more opportunities to overtake. But I think there's probably even more opportunities at Alton Park to make mistakes.
Yeah, I think there will be. I think just having a quick look at the points, I think I'll be 3 points ahead of Robbie. So that should be interesting going to Alton.
Yeah, definitely a championship to fight for. So well done for this evening, buddy. Anyone you need to say thank you to or give a shout out to?
Everyone. I don't even know. No idea.
No worries, buddy. No worries. But unless
let me through.
Yeah, no, unless Dave's got any questions for you or Dan, great stuff and well done. Rob, you there, Rob?
I am indeed. Good evening.
As ever, always there, mate. Great racing this evening. Second race, second on the podium. You got away with the safety car, or it seemed like you did, on that restart. But Robbie Stapleford did still seem to manage to just gap you a little bit, sort of by halfway point of that first flying lap away from the safety car. He'd pulled that 0.8. Was that just his driving? Did you make a mistake, or were you having to defend?
No, I had a slightly different setup on for race 2. I took quite a lot of rear wing off to give me some straight line speed to come through from the reverse grid, but obviously with the tech issues that didn't materialize. So with cold tires after safety car, Dave will tell you I had the rear wing on 5, so he'll tell you what that's quite like around here. So yeah, I just didn't want to take much risk, and I knew the race pace overall wouldn't have been as good in race 2, but I was planning on hopefully getting to the front as quick as I could at the start of the reverse grid and having enough in front that I'd close up some championship points. But look, it didn't fall that way. A massive well done to Robbie. He drove fabulous all evening, and yeah, Jordan there as ever. It was I thought we maybe could have closed a little bit on Robbie, and then that back marker put us back a little bit. We started taking a couple of tenths a lap out of him, and if Jordan just had a little bit more, I would have let him go to close up to Robbie to try have a battle at the end, but it didn't work out like that.
No, well, you've certainly, with your results this evening, you've certainly kept yourself in contention for the championship next week, albeit you're a little bit further off than the other guys, but you have closed the gap up somewhat, and certainly to Jack McIntyre, who's obviously not scored the greatest this evening, but just well done on this evening, mate, and two solid drives from yourself. You couldn't do much more than that for your championship, to be honest.
a couple of wins would have been nice, but yeah, good solid evening, and a massive thanks to Rich and Dave of VRRC for putting on a great event as ever, and especially to you guys for making the live stream so good to watch back. Obviously for our guys, but my mum and dad and brother are watching, and they absolutely loved the stream for the Porsche. So well done to everybody involved.
Yeah, thanks very much, mate. Dave, anything to add to that, buddy?
Well, I do this time because my mic's actually unmuted this time. So there you go. Got to take the shoes myself tonight.
I thought you were being unusually quiet, Dave. So.
Yeah, I mean, you know, new technology, things never work out quite right, do they? But yeah, fantastic race that, Rob. I think you've definitely made the people watching proud of you tonight. It was a standout performance tonight. Clean, solid, calculated, and good championship points. So yeah, it's all going to go down to Alton Park, and who knows what's going to happen, eh?
Yeah, exactly. It's been one of those nights, Dave. It's a lot easier when you're not out there and you're on asking the questions rather than me having to listen to you get interviewed after you beat me every week. So it's a bit easier out there. But look, as I said, Robbie was just on it all weekend. Robbie and Jordan done me on the last lap of qualifying, which was quite sad, but it was my own fault because I was on a really, really good lap and threw it away through church. But yeah, that affected it. If I could have led off race one, it might have been a different story. But yeah, I hope it was good to watch on the stream, Dave.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And just going towards Alton, what's the tactic that you're going to take for next round? Is it just all out, or are you going to think a little bit of the overall league itself, or do you want this Porsche win?
I always want to win, Dave. You know me better.
Yeah, of course you do. Of course you do.
But yeah, look, it would be obviously nice to win the Porsche. Obviously, as you know, I struggled at round one. I was on my other rig in the UK that I was really struggling with. I've actually sold that rig, so yeah, I've got to build something up with Rich next Tuesday, and hopefully get it together and it feels something similar to what I've got here. But yeah, I'm missing a couple of tenths in these cars, to be fair, and especially a little bit of consistency, but they're just not quite suited to my driving style, and I'm looking forward to a bit of DTM action in the future and maybe some single seaters.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, you know, with this league, you know, you've only got 4 weeks worth of racing in one discipline before you're on the next. So if a car doesn't necessarily suit your driving style, then you're not stuck in it for a full season of racing. So that was the idea in the league, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you get behind the wheel of, let's say, open wheel next round, eh?
Yeah, look, let's get through Alton. We're going to have a go to win it, as you well know. We won't be waiting around, but yeah, testing is going to be limited with work between now and then, and obviously I'll be on a new rig. So yeah, it'll be interesting, but any of the guys that are around me in the championship would be worthy winners. So let's go, let's have some fun, and we'll need some 10-10s coaching during the week, Dave.
Yep, we'll get the range, Rob. Spot on, good drive, and see you next week.
Next week. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, buddy.
There we go. Well, gents, what a round that was.
Yeah, fantastic racing there. You know, it was all very, very close, but it was all very, very well managed by the likes of Robbie Stapleford, who did what he needed to do. And I very much do believe he was sort of managing those gaps in both races, because they were toing and throwing a couple of tenths here and there. Some great battling throughout the grid. We saw some very, very tight tussles and some almost race-long tussles between drivers further down the field. We had Jack McIntyre, the championship leader, retiring in the first race, fighting his way through the field in the second race with some great moves, and you know, clawing his way back well into the top 10 for his finish in the second race, which was cut short by probably a lap or two, but nevertheless fantastic driving from everybody involved this week, and I really, really enjoyed it.
Very much indeed. Looking forward to Alton Park next week, a completely different track. I think before we quickly wrap up, Dave, what are your thoughts about Alton? How is it going to fare, and how are drivers going to fare around that next week?
What's quite interesting is there hasn't really been a track that lends itself to the following one. So each track that I've been to so far, the setup has changed really quite a lot. So We'll have to do a bit of testing. Let's find out what works going towards Alton Park. I know Max Bird has done a fair bit of testing there already in this car before he signed up to do the championship, and he was very fast around there. So Max Bird's maybe one to watch for next week. But I think Robbie Stapleford's really made his stamp on this championship, and even when Jack's on his 8th game, Robbie's going to bring it to him for this championship.
Absolutely. Well, one more round left for this first round and first championship of the League of Champions that just come up on your screen. So we've got the UK Porsche Challenge, the last round in a week's time at Alton Park International. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be action-packed. And then after that, we've got another 3 championships worth of racing as well. So if you would like to get involved, please do head over to Virtual Reality Racing Club, their website, join the Discord and get involved. It is shaping up to be a cracking rest of the season with another 3 championships left. But until next time, from myself, Steve, from Dave, and from Mike in the broadcast booth as well, take care, everyone, and stay safe.
Between the two of them, the inside of Coates. Parker gets too heavily involved. And that's Whitehead and Coates.